Greetings to the faculty and instructors of the Forestry Department and to my classmates, good day. I am Christian Engalan. Together with my group, we welcome you all to our subject, Introduction to Micro and Macroeconomics. In this video, we will be talking about the definition, principles, role, function, and importance of economics. Let us begin our discussion from the origin of the word economics or economy. The word economics comes from the Greek word oikos, means home, and nomos means management. According to Mankio, households and economies have much in common. Like a household, a society faces many decisions. A society must decide what jobs will be done and who will do them. It needs some people to grow food, other people to make clothing, and still, others to design computer software. The classic definition of economics is, it is a study of scarcity and choice, or a study of how society manages its scarce resources. Let us emphasize here the word scarcity and choice. Scarcity means that society has less to offer than people wish to have. We all have our desires, and we wanted to be satisfied with the resources that the society provides. But it gives us a limitation, and that limitation are the scarce resources. Like for example, you wanted to buy a laptop and a smartphone, but you don't have enough money to buy both, so you need to choose between them. And even if you have enough money to buy both, you still need to choose at least once. That is why we have the so-called choice. A choice refers to the ability of an individual to decide which good, services, or resources to purchase or provide from a range of possible options. In economics, we were taught to make a wise decision. Even if we have enough money to buy things, we still need to choose for us to have balance in our satisfaction and growth. Economics find ways of reconciling unlimited wants with limited resources. Economics explains the problem of living in communities in terms of the underlying resource costs and consumers' benefits. Economics is about the coordination of activities which results from specialization. In addition to the definition of economics, let us go back to its different definition according to the different economists. First is the definition of wealth. Adam Smith, as the father of economics, defined economics as a science which inquires into the nature and cause of wealth of nations. He emphasized the production and growth of wealth as the subject matter of economics. Smith's definition of economics talks only in terms of wealth and not in terms of human welfare. Thinkers and economists like Ruskin and Criziel condemned economics as a dismal science as it taught selfishness which was against ethics. Wealth definition was rejected, and the emphasis was shifted from wealth to welfare. Next is according to Alfred Marshall. He defined economics as a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It examines that part of individual and social action which is most closely connected with the attainment and with the use of material requisites of well-being. Marshall makes a distinction between, number 1, those things that are capable of promoting welfare of people, and number 2, those things that are not capable of promoting welfare of people. But a few things, like for example, liquor, that is not capable of promoting welfare but commands a price, comes under the purview of economics. The meaning of welfare varies from person to person, country to country, and one period to another. However, generally, welfare means happiness or comfortable living conditions of an individual or group of people. And next is a scarcity definition. According to economist Lionel Robbins, he defined economics as a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scars, means which have alternate uses. Robbins only talks about the microeconomics aspects like how resources are allocated in how prices are determined and nothing about the macroeconomics aspect, like how national income is generated. Also, Robin's definition does not cover the theory of economic growth and development. That is why Professor Paul A. Samuelson, a modern economist, defined economics as a study of how men and society choose with or without the use of money to employ the scarce productive resources which have alternative uses, to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumption now and in future among various people and groups of society. It analyzes the costs and benefits of improving pattern of resource allocations. To sum it up, economics is a study of how human manages its scarce resources. And that ends my presentation. By the way, I am Christian Engalan, and now I will be giving the floor to the next reporters, Ms. Mera-Andribec and Jeanroo BUSTAMANTE, for the principles of economics. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Mera-Andribec and my task for today is to discuss to you the different principles of economics. Economics is a social science that deals with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Mainly, it is about decision making and how different entities we face to make choices, managing, and allocating the scarce resources to satisfy our needs and wants. Throughout this video, we will introduce to you and to my partner the 10 Principles of Economics by Gregory Mankiw. The 10 Principles of Economics are: people face trade-offs, the cost of something is what you give up to get it, rational people think at the margin, people respond to incentives, trade can make everyone better off. Now, let's start with the principle number 1. People face trade-offs. People face trade-offs means to get one thing we like, we usually have to give up another thing we like. Making decision requires trading off of one goal against another. But first, what is a trade-off? In simple terms, a trade-off is where one thing increases and another must decrease. A trade-off is a situational decision that involves diminishing or losing one quality, quantity, or property of a set or design in return for gains in another aspect. What is the meaning of trade-off in economics? It is employed in economics to refer the fact that budgeting inevitably involves sacrificing some of X to get more of Y. Like for example, with a fixed amount of saving, one can buy a car or take an expensive vacation, but not both. The car be traded off for the vacation, vice versa. Like for example, also in leisure or work, you might take a day off work because you have an opportunity to go to the beach, while you're losing your day's wages as the cost for that opportunity. So let's consider these 3 basic trade-offs faced by the society today. First is what goods and services to produce, how to produce them, and who get the goods and services. Next is principle number 2. The cost of something is what you give up to get it. The meaning for this is the value of the next highest valued alternative to use of that resource. Opportunity cost is the second best alternative for gun. So, here is the example for that principle number 2, school or work. So, choose for further studies or giving up to earn money and gain working experience. So, one of the problems that I faced before in my life is when I had to make a decision about what I want to do after high school. So, if I choose to further my studies, that means I would have to give up the chance to earn money and gain working experience. Yes, I give up to study, but I earned money to supply my needs because whatever you give up in order to obtain some item. So, in this principle, you have to make decision that cause us to consider the cost and benefits of an action. So, next is the principle number 3. Rational people think at the margin. In this principle, rational people systematically and purposefully do the best they can achieve their objectives given the available opportunities according to Gregory Mankiw. So, what does making natural decision at the margin means? Thinking on a margin means considering how much you value in addition for something. Economists use the term marginal changes to describe small incremental adjustment to mental adjustment to an existing plan of action. So, for example, human needs water to survive, while diamonds are unnecessary. But for some reason, people are willing to pay much more for a diamond than for a cup of water. The reason is that a person's willingness to pay for a good is based on the marginal benefit that an extra unit of a good would yield. The marginal benefit in turn depends on how many units a person already has. Water is essential, but the marginal benefits of an extra cup is small because water is plentiful. But contrast, no one needs diamonds to survive. But because diamonds are so rare, people consider the marginal benefit of an extra diamond to be large. Next is principle number 4. People respond to incentives. Incentives is something that causes a person to act. Because people use cost and benefit analysis, they also respond to incentives. And because people make decisions by comparing cost and benefits, their behavior may change when the cost or benefits change. That is, people respond to incentives. And actually, many economists agree with this principle. We are more likely to do something if its benefits rises and less likely if its cost rises. It motivates behavior through payments. Like for example, when the price of an apple rises, for instance, people decide to eat more pears and fewer apples because the cost of buying an apple is higher. Principle number 5. Trade can make everyone better off. Trade allows countries to specialize according to their comparative advantages and to enjoy a greater variety of goods and services. The importance of trade. Trade involves the exchange of goods and services for commercial purposes. Individuals, companies, and nations that engage in trade become better off because they meet each other's needs. So, a famous economist, Gregory Mankiw, says that trade allows each person to specialize at what he or she does best, whether it's farming, sewing, or home building. In the same way, nations can specialize in what they do best. In both cases, people get a wider range of choices at lower prices. So, like for example, this one. If you have something I want and if I have something you want and we trade each other, we're both better off. So, that would be all. Thank you everyone for watching. The rest principles will be discussed by the next reporter. Once again, thank you.
The sixth principle of economy is markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. Many countries used to have centrally planned economies, but they are increasingly transitioning to market economies. In a market economy, decisions are made collectively by millions of households and firms. Households decide where they'll work, and firms decide who they want to hire and what to produce. These two parties interact in the market economy where decisions are guided by self-interest. In a free market economy, the interaction between households and firms are guided almost automatically, seemingly by an invisible hand that helps direct economic activity. Sometimes the market economy or aspects of it fail, and that's where governments have to step in to implement policy. As a result, while deciding what to buy and sell, consumers and businesses evaluate pricing as well as expenses and societal advantages, resulting in a rise in society's welfare. Examples of these are firms make decisions on what they will produce, households choose where they want to work, and people decide what they buy. The seventh principle is governments can sometimes improve market outcomes. In the previous economic principle, we discussed the government intervention in the market in the form of policy formulation. But why does the government need to intervene when we have the invisible hand? The hand uses the market to produce goods and services, while the hand relies on the government for protection. The hand needs help in organizing economic activity within the market, namely to promote both efficiency and equity. Markets can fail when they fail to allocate resources efficiently, and this happens as a result of externality. Externality is when an action produces an impact on the well-being of a bystander. Without intervention of governments, the market could have a negative impact without even meaning to. The hand, on the other hand, entrusts its safety to the government. The market can only function if certain rights are upheld, and the hand requires assistance in arranging economic activities inside the market, specifically to promote both efficiency and equity. The eighth principle is country's standard of living depends on its ability to produce goods and services. As we all know, different countries have varying levels of life, and this is directly tied to the country's output. Not only that, but changes in living standards through time might be substantial as well. Even in high-income countries, for example, the Western world has advanced in terms of what we regard to be a good level of living. The growth of the standard living is lower in higher-income countries than in lower-income countries. This growth can be attributed to the fact that people are able to produce more goods and their standard of living is higher. The ninth principle is prices rise when the government prints too much money. In most cases, the cause is that there's too much money in circulation. When governments print more money and there's more available, its value decreases. Prices follow inflation. Policymakers aim for a lower level of inflation to keep the market moving. The 10th and last principle is society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Another effect of more money in circulation is a decrease in the rate of employment. The Phillips curve is used by economists to trace the relationship between the two, which helps them understand market and business cycles. The Phillips curve is a mathematical formula that seeks to push inflation and unemployment in opposite directions. Policymakers can influence inflation and unemployment by adjusting the amount of money printed and the amount of taxes levied. As a result, the policies that governments and politicians undertake have a direct impact on the market and economy, and can have a significant impact on inflation and unemployment rates.
Hello everyone, I'm Emarie PANIZALES and my topic is all about the rules of economics. So, we need to know first the definition of economics. So, economics is a social science concerned with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. It is also the study of how individuals, businesses, governments, and nations make choices about how to allocate resources. It also focuses on the actions of human beings based on assumption that humans act with rational behavior, seeking the most optimal level of benefit or utility. So for short, it is the study of how humans make decisions in the face of scarcity. There are two major types of economics. First is the microeconomics, which focuses on the behavior of individual consumers and producers. It also focuses on how individual consumers and firms make decisions. These individual decision-making units can be a single person, a household, business or government, or a business or organization, or a government agency. So the second type of economics is the macroeconomics, which examine overall economies on a regional, national, or international scale. It also studies an overall economy on both national and international level using highly aggregated economic data and variables to model the economy. So, rules of economics in society. So, economics provides a framework for understanding the actions and decisions of individuals, businesses, and governments. It provides a means to understand interactions in a market-driven society and for analyzing government policies that affect the families, jobs, and lives of the citizen.
Best day everyone, I'm Criziel Mae, your reporter for the functions of economics. We all know that economics is the social science that studies the production, distribution, and consumptions of goods and services. Now, let us study the functions of our economics. The first function is production. Any activities or any services which satisfies and is expected to satisfy an individual. an act of creating and output goods, services, which has value and contributes the utility of individuals. Process of combining various material inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for consumption. In other words, production is the product of something designed or customized to satisfy the wants of an individual or our wants. Mind you, those production may vary. It might be material like the products produced from farms, specifically wheats and vegetables. Production might also be immaterial, which is the plans we create when we're thinking of doing something. Next, function. Consumption, the use of goods and services by households, using, buying, or eating something, determined simply by paying the cost for a good or service and receiving all the benefits. Buying and eating foods define consumptions. The products we use every day, from the foods, water, clothes, soaps, and the services we get, are called consumption. It is simply buying, eating, and using products that gives us satisfaction is consumption. Next. Growth, increase or improvement of the market value or the goods and services. Increase in the production of economic goods and services compared from one period of time and another. So growth in economics is the movement of production and consumption in ascending. Basically, the rating of the products and the consumption of the consumers increases. So, there is a massive change in production. Why? Because it is where products that are being consumed by us being processed. So, that is the starting point of the growth of economics. So, those are the functions of economics. Food for the brain, y'all. As what you observe, the common ground of those functions is to satisfy human wants and needs, our wants and needs. So in short, economics aim to produce plans, goods, services for us to buy, consume, and at the end gain satisfaction. Remember everyone, by consuming products that are being processed locally helps our economic growth. When the growth of our economics increases, we will all benefit from this. Who knows? One day, we can consume products for free because of our massive productions and rapid consumptions. Who knows, right? Again, I'm Criziel Mae, and those are the functions of economics. That's all. Thank you.
Importance of economics. Economics is the social science that studies the production, distribution, and consumptions of goods. Economics provides a framework for understanding the actions and decisions individuals, businesses, and governments. The study of economics can also provide valuable knowledge for making decisions in everyday life. These are the importance of economics. It can help improve living standards and make society a better place. It also partly depends on the priorities of society and what we consider most important. It develops logical thinking and problem solving, helps us to be informed citizens, and enhances our understanding of world affairs. Economics help us understand the world around us and how it really works.